Have you ever heard of roads that should be avoided at night? Roads that might be haunted or full of spirits? Today's story is different. It's the story of a young man named Yazan, whose journey was full of secrets and mysterious events that he never expected. One dark night, Yazan decided to travel to his grandfather's distant village, even though the road at night might be dangerous. But he heard of a shortcut that would get him there quickly. With all those dangers, he did not expect that this road would turn into the worst nightmare of his life. Once he entered the road, Yazan realized that it was much darker and more desolate than he expected. There were no cars passing by and no one in sight. The road seemed completely empty, as if he was walking it alone in another world. As time passed, he suddenly spotted a person standing in the middle of the road. It was a beautiful girl, but she was terrified and covering her face with her hands, as if she had seen something unimaginable. The girl started banging on his car window, begging him, "Please take me with you, save me. Someone is coming soon and there's no time to explain." Yazan hesitated for a moment, but finally opened the door for her out of fear. But as soon as the girl entered, his eyes noticed 4 other people standing in the middle of the road. They were terrifyingly disfigured, their hair disheveled and their eyes shining with a strange look, and each one of them was carrying a deadly weapon. One was carrying a sword, another was carrying knives, and one was carrying an electric saw. The last of them was carrying a deadly sickle, as if they had emerged from a dark nightmare. When Yazan whispered in a trembling voice, "Who are these? Are they even human?" The girl answered him in a broken voice, "Please, let's run before it's too late. These are not human, they are shadows from hell." Yazan took off at a terrifying speed and began to flee between the winding roads, but the creatures did not stop. He could see them approaching, screams of terror emanating from inside the car and their faces getting closer. Although the road ahead of him was clear, his heartbeats rose so loudly that he could almost hear them in his ears. Once he had moved away a little, he began asking the girl what had happened and how she had gotten to this place. She said with a trembling voice, "My car broke down here and I was alone, and these people suddenly appeared and tried to catch me." Yazan nodded his head in an attempt to calm her down and told her that he would take her home safely. As they continued on their way, Yazan began to notice something strange. The girl was pointing him to side roads, all of which looked deserted, as if no one had traveled on them for years. The more side roads there were, the more suspicious Yazan became. At one point he dared to look at the girl's face to see her features clearly, but he noticed that part of her face seemed to be distorted. Then he decided to stop and said to her worriedly, "I think you are lost. I will go to the nearest police station to help us find your house." But the girl looked at him and smiled strangely, then pointed to a nearby house and said in a calm voice, "It is there, right in front of you." Yazan looked at the house and froze in place. The house was abandoned. Its doors and windows were broken and it was covered in dust and spiders. But he was sure of one thing: this was not the house of a neighborhood. The girl got out of the car and walked towards the house, whispering, "Thank you for taking me there." But Yazan did not move away. He began to hear strange noises under the car, and moments later he saw 2 disfigured people standing and looking directly into his eyes. They were banging on the car window so hard that he felt his heart would stop. The next day, when the villagers noticed Yazan's absence, they decided to go out to look for him. When they reached the cursed road, they found his car in front of the abandoned house. But the strangest thing was that Yazan was gone, and there is no trace of him to this day, as if the ground had swallowed him. To conclude, thus the village began to warn everyone against taking that road at night, and Yazan's story became a painful memory, a cursed road, and a story that still baffles everyone who hears it.